It's, I'm sorry. I don't know why this actually very interesting. It's actually a Maamar that says on the top of your Shabbos Parshas Ekiv. I just noticed, but it's on our parsha, so it comes and it's interesting how this came about. But whatever, it's on our parsha. So it says, "Vatfona וקדמה וצפונה ונגבה," and you will spread forth to the west, to the east, to the north, and to the south. And all the families of the earth will receive and get their brachas through you, will bless themselves with you, and in your children. The Rebbe explains through the avodah that you will spread to the west, to the east, and north, and the south. And through that will be that they will bless themselves with you. So first he's going to explain what is this avodah of ופרצת yom וקדמה. By the way, in the simple sense of the pasuk, he's saying that by spreading out all over, you will become that well known and that successful that all the nations of the earth will bench themselves when you say, look at the Jewish people, this is we hope to be like this. So first he's going to explain Beruchnis, what's the avodah ופרצת. Avodah ופרצת gomer is shegam bebchinas yama וקדמה וצפונה ונגבה. Shuag is what is it that even in the west, the east, the north, and the south, that's limitations. The different directions, the different sides of the compass is a limitation. Still, also in this will be your spreading forth, meaning it's about the drawing down of the infinite into the finite. That's also the idea of Kriyashma that we read every day, that in Kriyashma we're taking the infinite, the bligvul, and bringing it into the finite. We say, we conclude in Shema Yisrael, Havaya is Echad. What's the significance of Echad? We know why it uses the exact language of Echad, and it doesn't say Yachid. Seemingly, if you would say Yachid, that's Dagamash or Yachid, Hunaylam Echad, though the word Yachid is seemingly showing a greater level than Echad, Yachid, which ain't a Shaykh Shnias Klal. When we use the word Yachid, that means singular. That means that that's the only one. Echad only means one, but perhaps there's something that follows it. But Yachid means the only one. So shouldn't we better use the word Yachid than Echad? Still in all, still in all we use the word Echad. The intention in using this word is the gam ba'ches v'adal shuzayin lekim va'aretz v'dal druch sa'olam shuag bola, even in the letter ches. Now the letter ches indicates the 7 rakim and the earth, and the letter dal indicates the 4 sides of the world. All of these things are descriptions having to do with the limitation of place. Still in all, despite the fact that they are limited, they are joined and they are nullified to the Aleph, which is going on the Ein Sof, Alufish Aloilam, the master of the world, the Misyachdim Imoy, and they become one with him. And their oneness is to such a degree, until it combines to make one word, the word of Echad. That's the ultimate purpose, to draw down the infinite into the finite. So we have this idea also, just like ופרצת is about bringing the infinite into the finite of Yom וקדמה, so too Echad is the Aleph, Alufish Aloilam, bring it down into the finite of Ches and Dal. ופרצת Yom וקדמה going, וצריך להבין, מה שייך in ופרצת gomer, משהו כוסף ונברחו. What's the connection between why Beruchnis does bringing the Bligvul into Gvul have to do with what it says that all the Mishpachos Adama will be blessed and bless themselves about you. וקדמה שייך זה לקרישמה. Why is the idea of Krishma have to do with Bli Gvul and Gvul? What's the significance of bringing into Krishma the idea of Bli Gvul coming into Gvul? But the idea behind this is in the parsha near the Krishma Ksib. In the second parsha of Krishma, it says, "Ukshartem geimer lemadatem." First, it says, it's going to be a very important point over here, the order. First, it says, you shall bind them, and then it says, you shall learn them. The Kshartem koyal maisa mitzvahs, binding is going on the actions of mitzvahs. Because it's, even though it's talking about just one mitzvah, the mitzvah of tefillin, but the huksha kol toidel tefillin. But since the entire Torah, all the mitzvahs are likened to tefillin, so therefore, ukshartem is symbolic of and indicates the idea of mitzvahs. Ulemadatem koyal Torah, and the idea of lematem is going on Torah. Shat Torah mitzvahs in kol inyanim. Torah mitzvahs is everything. The person's obligation is involved with Torah mitzvahs. It includes everything of his obligation. Since the idea of Krishma is the general idea of Torah mitzvahs, like it's explained later on, this Maamar, therefore in Krishma it's hinted Torah and mitzvahs. So that's the second parsha of Krishma. By the way, this is the connection with Parshas Ekev, because that's where it talks about the second parsha of Krishma. Parshas Vezchanon has the first parsha of Krishma, and the second parsha of Krishma is in Parshas Ekev. V'hinei gam beparsha rishona de Krishma merumaz HaTorah mitzvahs. Even though we just now said it, it's to be found in the second parsha of Krishma, this general idea of Torah and mitzvahs. First mitzvahs ukshartam, and then the idea of Torah lemadatem. So, also in the Parsha Rishona, we find this as well. The Parsha Rishona, the Krishma Ksiv, Shinantam, Goimer, Ukshartam. That in the first Parsha of Krishma, it says those two expressions, similar to the two expressions in the second Parsha, the Shinantam, Utoira. Ukshartam, Hum Mitzvahs. Shinantam is you should teach them. What it's them? You're teaching them to your children. That's Torah learning. And binding them is like we have also the binding in Vayim Shemayim. Mitzvah is the mitzvahs, the Shkal Torah Tefillin, like we said, that all the entire Torah was likened to Tefillin. But there's a very interesting thing between the Parsha Rishon and Parsha Shni, even though both of them speak about Maisa, mitzvahs, and Limra Torah. Amnam u'beseder hafuch. It's in the opposite order, the Parsha Rishon and the Parsha Shni. In the second parsha, the order is initially mitzvahs, and afterwards it's Torah, because it starts off ukshartem and then v'limatem. I'm sorry, parsha, and here seems to be a printing mistake. Parsha rishona, it's supposed to say. And the first parsha, the order is initially Torah, and then it is mitzvahs, because first it says v'shinantam levanecha, and then it talks about the kshartam. So how come? Why does the Torah switch the order and go from one seder to another seder between the first and the second parshas of Krishma? So the Rebbe explains 2 lines from the bottom. The idea behind this is there are 2 opinions in the droshes of Chazal: Talmud Gadol, and Maisa Gadol. What is greater, Torah study or action? And since there's 2 opinions in Torah does not mean that one is wrong and one is right. Both these and those are the words of the living God. So both of them are correct. Top of the next page. Both of them are true. There's an advantage in Torah and there's an advantage of mitzvahs. The fact that it is said first in time, in other words, it says it in order, says one thing, and another thing it shows that it's of a higher level. So something that says in the pasuk first is a higher level than something that says in a following pasuk. For that reason, he switches it around. Therefore, he gives each one a turn in being first. In the first parsha, he first says about Torah and then about mitzvahs, and the second parsha of Krishma, Vayim Shemaya, he says first mitzvahs and then Torah, because each one has an advantage. Talmud has its advantage, and Mais has its advantage. And again, Krishma is the Klolos Kol HaMitzvahs. Well, the Yoisha Krishma Klolos HaTorah HaMitzvahs, since Krishma is the general Torah Mitzvahs, just like we said before, that because Krishma is the general idea of Torah mitzvahs, so it includes everything which is Torah and mitzvahs. The same thing, these two advantages, which is greater, Torah or mitzvahs, since Krishma is such a general thing, so he includes both. First parsha like this, second parsha like this, Miles HaTorah, Miles HaMitzvahs, the advantage of Torah over mitzvahs, which is in the first parsha of Krishma, and the advantage of mitzvahs over Torah, which is in the second parsha of Krishma. Yet we still need to understand. They took account and they came to the conclusion that Torah learning is greater. Talmud Gadol Shemevil de Maisa, but the actual ruling is Talmud is Gadol. So if we rule that Talmud is Gadol, so then the second parsha of Krishma will not follow halacha. It's impossible to say that there's going to be a parsha in Torah that's not following halacha. So how could it be that the halacha rules that Talmud is greater, and that is expressed in the first parsha, but the second parsha will disagree and not be in concert with halacha? Something needs to fit better over here. So the Rebbe says on the second paragraph, this will be understood by first prefacing initially that the general idea of Krishma is the general inyan of Torah mitzvahs, like we said before, and he said he would explain it further on how the general idea of Krishma is the general idea of Torah mitzvahs. The primary idea of Krishma is the first two psukim of Shema Yisrael and Baruch Shem. Everything else is like a continuation of that, but those are the main highlights, if you will, of the entire Krishma. And where do we see this? We see this actually in what the Chazal say as the halachic value and importance of those two parts of Krishma. Maamar, like the Chazal say, as soon as you made Hashem king, above and below, and to the four sides of the compass, you don't need anything more. The inyan amlichte, and the idea that you made Hashem a king, who babeis psukim d'shma baruch Shem. It is comprised and set in the two psukim of Shema baruch Shem. In the first pasuk of Krishma, there are 6 words. Vem keneged hashisha midas. These correspond to the 6 attributes, characteristics. Shachoyshav, the pasuk that he enumerates in the pasuk in davening l'cha havaya gdula gomer, to you Hashem is the greatness, meaning the midah of chesed, and then agvura teferes neitz v'haoid. Ad ki koil b'shmayim v'oretz, till koil b'shmayim v'oretz, as we know. Chassidus explains, Kol Bashmayim Ba'oretz, the Targum says, the one that joins the heavens and the earth, that's going on the sphere of Yesod. So you have the sphere of Yesod which joins the heavens, which are the Midas, and the earth is Malchus. That's Ki Kol Bashmayim Ba'oretz. So you have first the 6 Midas, and that is why in the first pasuk, the Shema Yisrael, Shem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, there's 6 words corresponding to these 6 Midas. Baruch Shem Kvoid Malchus Elohim Void, Baruch Shem, which speaks about Hashem's kingship, who can neged l'cha avayim amlocha. That's why it's also part of the amlichte. That's why it's part of what we said, that when you made him king, that's not just in saying Shema Yisrael, but also in the Baruch Shem. So we have over there the next thing, the seventh middle l'chavai amlach. Moving, it's understood that your inyan beis psukim elu who I say inyan shel pasuk l'chavai agdul gomer. It's understood that the two psukim of Shema and Baruch Shem are the same ideas of the pasuk l'chavai agdul to l'chavai amlach. So therefore, he's going to explain how it is he's going to explain deeper l'chavai agdula and then bring it back to Shema and Baruch Shem. Pirush pasuk l'chavai agdula mevuar, concerning what it says to you, Hashem, is the greatness. It's explained. Asher agdulahu, what greatness is he referring to? Like it says, God lavaya mehula me'oid be'ir alekeinu. Havaya is great and very much praised in the city of my God. What does that mean? Only when it comes down in a tzimtzum, as we're soon going to explain, the city of my God is referring to tzimtzum, then you could have Hashem's greatness. Before he comes down in tzimtzum, he's beyond even being great. Shari mitzadatz musis baruch lav mikol ilan bidis yu klal, because of perspective from Hashem's essence. So any of these attributes, including greatness, is not applicable by him whatsoever. The whole idea of greatness is only manifest when he's in the city of our God, the city of the Eibishter, that is the world of speech, in the Ruchnis Yanim. What does the city of my God have to do with speech? Just like a city is made up of a multitude of houses, and every house is made up of a multitude of stones. So too, two letters of the Aleph base build two houses, like the Sefer Yetzirah explains. Three build 6 houses, meaning 6 words. So therefore, the Aleph base in speech is likened to a city because it's like a whole collection of houses and stones and so on. And the math goes on ad she'ein hapeh yochel lesaper. If you're going to start adding and adding letters, you get to a number that you can't even count. So that's the reason why that the world of speech is called the city of my God, because speech is like a city built up of many homes that's built up of many stones, just like speech is built up of many words that's built up of many letters. Only in the city of the Eibishter is the idea of greatness. What's the Eibishter's greatness? The greatness indicates the coming into being of the world. The coming to being of the world comes from Hashem's emotional attributes, from his character traits. Remember your mercy, Hashem, and your kindness, because they are from the world. Meaning that in the way that Chassidus teaches over here is that it means that the emotions are what's responsible, the midas and the character traits of Hashem as what's responsible for the creation. The olam is only thanks to Rachamecha v'chasadecha. But to be able to reveal Hashem's character traits, to be able to have the gedula in the Hisavos, the greatness of the coming into being, the Gili Hamid is the revelation of Hashem's attributes through the multiple letters of speech. For example, by a person when he wants to reveal the feeling of the intellect or the feeling of the emotions. To another, why they is through the many letters of speech. Similar, so too in a similar vein as will be understood above. Why that the revelation of his emotional attributes is through the many letters of speech, just like a human being communicates his emotions to another through speech. How could there be a multitude of so many different types of varied creations? Like the Alter Rebbe says in Shari Yichud V'Amunah, When you have all the different letters and different types of combinations and switches of letters and so on, that you had from the Asara Amoris, and then you have Gematriyos, and you have different combinations, and you turn it around, and you switch letters for other letters. So then all these different types of letters are different forms and channels for the divine energy in creation. Only through the city of Hashem, meaning through the different various parts of speech, is the greatness of Havaya, that you see his revelation and the power of creation. But from the perspective of Hashem's very essence, so he's not of these attributes whatsoever. And his greatness cannot be investigated, meaning it cannot be bound and limited. This means that his essential greatness is incomparable whatsoever, even in comparison to the greatness of Hashem in the city of my God. That's what it means to his greatness. There is no investigating whatsoever, meaning there is obviously Hashem has a greatness of the essence. There's the greatness that he manifests in creation, and that only comes through the level of speech. But then there's Hashem's essential greatness, Gdulasai. Over there, there's no type of description, there's no limitations, etc. That is beyond coming down in the letters. So now we're going to explain what does it mean, L'cha Havaya Gdula. 2 lines in the bottom of the page, and therefore, the midah of Hashem's greatness, that does come down into the city of Hashem, meaning that does come down into speech, into the creation. It's still insignificant and nullified to Hashem's very essence. It has no significance. That's what it means, l'cha, to you, meaning it's bottled to you, it's something completely nullified to you, the greatness that's involved in creation. Vaidei, top of the next page, the 3rd page, Halazu, through elevating, through causing and proclaiming that Hashem's greatness, his chesed, his midas, are totally bottled to you. So we are like elevating the midas beyond their tzimtzum. We are elevating them from out of the Ir Elokeinu. Ruach amshich ruach. One spirit draws down another spirit, which is just a fancy way of saying the inspiration down there below brings an inspiration from above. So through elevating Hashem's greatness to his essence, then that causes an additional ray comes down from his essence into the level of Gedula, which wasn't there before. Earlier he said there is one explanation in L'cha Havaya Gdula, and now he says there's another explanation L'cha Havaya Gdula. That the second idea of L'cha Havaya Gdula is L'cha Havaya Gdula, that it comes down from Havaya, from Hashem's essence, into the Gedula, into the midah of Hashem's chesed and creation and so on. So first you elevate the Gedula, and then you draw down the Eibishter into the Gedula. And Gedula is only one of the midas. So too, it's in all the midas, from Gedula and Gevura and Tiferes. The Chazal say it's going on Matan Torah and everything else. And L'cha Havaya Mamlacha shekenu gam b'midas hamalchus. So too in the midas hamalchus, asher betchila yesh halos kol hamidas and midas hamalchus ad midas hagedula atzmus yisbarach. Initially, there's the elevation of all the midas from the midah of his kingship to the midah of the Gedula to Hashem's essence. V'achar kach nimshach toisefes ha'orem atzmus yisbarach l'bchinas hagedula chulad l'bchinas hamlacha. And afterwards it comes down an additional ha'orem from Hashem's essence to the level of Gedula, until the level of Hamamlocha. And then the Rebbe is going to explain that in a similar idea there's to be found in the idea of Krishma as well, that there is an elevation, an aliyah, halal, lamailot, Hashem's essence, and then from that essence we draw down into the details.